No, you don't, but he was sort of asking you to do it in the email, but it's okay.
Well, that's what I heard.
Yeah. Now he's changing his mind.
All right, good evening. Welcome to tonight's regular board meeting, Monday, July 14th, 2025. We have met compliance with official notification. Roll call, please.
Nick Olson.
Here.
Sarah Schubert McCone. Here. Ellie Moen.
Here,
Catherine Gaman. Here. Laura Gatsky. Here. President Steve Olson.
Here. This time, would you all please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
Sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for comments by members of the public during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the board on any of the topics included on tonight's agenda may do so by completing a public comment sign-up sheet and handing it to the deputy clerk. The board requests refraining from making any comments involving personally identifiable information about students, staff, or administration. Comments should be respectful, focused on the items being considered by the board, and will be restricted to 3 minutes in length. Action taken at today's meeting will be final approval unless otherwise noted. Our first agenda item, comments by members of the public. I'd like to welcome Kyle Smith.
it was a cold.
Just in the nick of time.
Darn train. Yeah, thank you. Start my timer. I wanted to try and just touch on two agenda items. One is the salary increase for admin that's on the agenda, and I believe you did get an email from Lee. And then if I can touch on the cell phone policy, but we'll see where I am for time. Several teachers had reached out to me when they saw this increase on certain positions, and I certainly don't. I'm not looking to devalue any of our admin. We have a fantastic admin team. I think the questions were of the timing of this on certain positions of 10,000 increase to 5,000, another 10,000, 8,000, 11,000, 10,000 on that step 5. So the timing, I think we looked at you all looked at the salary schedules of admin 4 to 5 years ago, I think, but we're not sure. Reached out to David to get a little context of this. I was hoping you're on vacation. But so I just wanted to hear kind of when you get to that agenda item, kind of the rationale of the timing when we hear about, our enrollment going down, funding at the state level, not where it needs to be, funding at the federal level, especially with special ed at a very questionable level, to say the least. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to hear, the justification and rationale. Maybe it is to retain and be competitive with our admin. I feel like admin, we get great admin to come here because I know the district is strong. So I guess that's what many of us are looking for when you get to that agenda item about the increase. The other thing was just briefly, I think you're taking out language of a cell phone policy because I think I saw that it doesn't match the student handbook language or something to that extent. And I just wanted to, and I looked at the student language and it's the expectation, it was a way for the day, which I think all of us agree is a great thing. I wonder if at some point we could look at adding language of not only the expectation, but what's the accountability or consequence in the student handbook as a start. I noticed we have expectations of riding the bus, and it lists out things that are expected, and then it also lists consequences as well. And I don't think in the student handbook there is really anything except a way for the day. I know if you click in the link of the where all the guide or the statutes are that you get this from, it's more specific. Yeah, thank you. It's more specific, but in that student handbook, it's pretty big. Oh, how's that? So,
You're good. 3 seconds.
thanks.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Kyle, did you need more time or are you good?
I'll talk about that when we get to the policy.
Okay.
Okay. Just so we can make a motion to add more time if they still needed time. So forth.
All right, thank you. Our next agenda item, disposition of minutes from June 9, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes from June 9, 2025. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Action items, annual superintendent report. It's a resolution. I need a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. So I have to read the resolution for you and then we'll have discussion. Resolution 25-02. Superintendent as designated representative. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of the School District of Superior, Douglas County, Wisconsin, that Amy Starzecki, District Administrator, be designated the legal authorized representative to sign applications and to execute grant documents from July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026 for and on behalf of the school district in connection with federal and state public laws and or funding authorities and local public and private funding agencies that provide categorical funding support to the school district.
I have a discussion item and maybe it's a Molly thing or I'm not quite sure, Amy too, but we changed all the language that used to have superintendent in our policies. And I know like since I've been on here, I feel like we've been trying to move away from superintendent language to district administrator, which is what is more generally used from my understanding. When do we what's the plan? Are we going to abandon that language or
You mean why it says superintendent as designated rep? Is that what you mean?
why do we use superintendent versus district administrator? Or is it it's the same thing or do you keep both?
I think they're virtually the same thing.
Right.
I think that districts tend to, you like to use the official title as district administrator, so there's not confusion with state superintendent.
Okay.
But ultimately, the role that I sit in is superintendent.
Right.
And so I think this resolution comes from past legal language. And so this is an annual notice that we have to have the board approve every year.
Okay.
I use my official title as district administrator, but when I'm out often in public, I often use superintendent because people understand that better.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think they're interchangeable and I think it's okay to use either, but I tend to, when it's more formal, I use district administrator.
Okay. Thanks for the explanation.
Molly, is there anything to add to that? Okay.
But our policies, we put district administrator and then this resolution puts her as
I
the,
think we've been changing it as we have been updating.
Mhm.
yes. Yep.
Policies for her contract we changed from superintendent to district
Mhm.
administrator.
Mhm. That's all I had.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The next action item, WIA membership renewal. Committee recommends approval of resolution 25-03, renewing WIAA membership for the 2025-22 school year, 26 school year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve resolution 2503. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of the School District of Superior, Douglas County, Wisconsin, to renew membership affiliation with the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association, WIAA, for senior high school sports, boys and girls, for the 2025-2026 school year. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Should we sing the school song now?
We're from Superior. You should all know it.
I do.
All right.
Trying, right, Caleb? You know.
Any discussion? There were no discussion items, no informational items. Amy, is there anything you want to add to your report at this time? All right, I would accept. Oh, we don't, there, sorry. Next up, our board committee reports, budget and insurance committee. Action items, gifts, grants, and bequests. The committee recommends approval to accept gifts, grants, and bequests received in June 2025. And let's pull those up. I guess I'm doing them now.
Cool.
The ones on the left section.
I just want to note on there that the Amber and Matt Osterlin, that actually came from the Osterlin family and Matt Logovich.
Oh, so Matt Milinkovich is supposed to be added up there as well then. Okay. Will we fix that or where do we keep record of this? Like, all right.
I'll change it in the minutes. I'll note it.
Oh, thanks, Ann. Appreciate that generous donation for sure.
And we received an email support of that also. All right, is any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Action item authorizing pre-approved bills. The committee recommends approval of resolution 25-04 and annual resolution authorizing payment of pre-approved bills from July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026. Resolution 2503 be resolved by the Board of Education of, hang on, let's switch that over to 25-04. Be resolved that the board is authorized to direct its representatives to certify for prepayment without further action of the board, payrolls when due, bills on which cash discounts may be obtained, bills which require prompt payment to avoid penalties, and other bills where timely payment is required and or beneficial for district operations when properly approved by the district administrator or designee for the period beginning July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Motion a second to approve resolution 25-04. Is there any discussion?
Is there a reason we do this once a year and then every month? Or what is the difference between?
So this is the resolution that I have the authority to do it. What you see every month is actually the folks' approval of it, and also it's for transparency's sake. See what bills were paid.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There were no discussion items, informational items, budget update. David, anything to?
I know.
Have one more
thing.
We do have one.
Hold on. Shared
That's why-
services.
That's why Olson Comedy Team. Check something. Approval of shared services contract. Administration recommends approval of shared services contract for deaf/hard of hearing services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve the shared service contract. It is with the school district of Solon Springs. Amy on it.
I'll talk a little bit about it. I'm going to ask David and Dina to add to this a little bit. So, one of the challenges that we have in special education is we don't always have the ability to reduce staff, even when our needs are reduced. It's called maintenance of effort. I think the rationale is that when budget cuts need to happen, the government wants to protect special education is not the first place you go to balance your budget. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that's the rationale. We have had a decline in our caseload for deaf of hard of hearing. Solon Springs is in need of some support. This gives us an opportunity to sell some of our services. He would stay full time, but it allows us to be able to share our services. And then the times that he supports them, they will reimburse us for that time. David, do you want to say anything more about that? I know Dina has an amendment she'd like to potentially make for this contract if possible.
Yeah, so it's, I work together to figure out what that rate should be to ensure that we're at least, covering the full expense of what that employee is. And as Amy said, it's not something where you can make a reduction even in this area because the federal government requires the maintenance of effort in which you have to keep spending the amount you've done in the previous years. Unless there's some exceptions, like if somebody retires, you don't have to refill the position, but there's very few exceptions.
And so this is an opportunity for us to get some revenue that we wouldn't otherwise be able to get. So I know where's Dina? Right in the podium. Okay, do you want to talk a little bit about a potential change you'd like to make to this contract?
Yeah, there was just an error. The hourly rate that we're charging, it doesn't include the fringe. And so
Do you know where that is on what page, Dina?
Under 4.
4?
yeah, it's on, yeah, 3, right there. So that says 59.72 an hour. It's actually 63.18. That should be amended.
So Dina's wondering if the board would consider a motion to amend, to approve this with the accurate reflected rate of, what did you say?
63.18.
Then this also has to be approved by Solon School Board as well before this is official. So this is one step in the process.
So I'll make a motion to amend the amount to include the fringe at $63.18 an hour. Is that correct?
Second.
The motion and a second to amend the contract to reflect hourly service of $63.18. $63.18. Any further discussion?
This is for 2 years, correct? That's what I'm seeing on page 4.
Dina, is this for 2 years?
2-year contract?
Just for 1 year.
1 year.
Just for the upcoming school year.
Where do you see 2 years, Sarah?
The top, page 4. This agreement shall become effective on August 1st, 2025 and shall continue in effect for a term of 2 years based on the need for services.
So should that be amended to 1 year?
Yes, please.
That would be up and there's a 25, 26, 26, 27 all the way on the top too.
So we can just generally say that this contract would be adjusted to reflect a 1 year agreement.
I'll
It may go into a second year.
make an additional amendment to modify the contract to be 1 year for the next school year.
Second.
Motion and a second to amend the agreement shall become effective on August 1, 2025 and shall continue for 1 year to June 30, 2026.
This is the first time we've done this, so these are good questions. We haven't had a contract like this before.
Any discussion on that? So we'll be supplying, that's a bad word. A member of our school district will be going to the Golden Springs School District to perform the duties as said for 1 year. And then, if I remember right, this person will be compensated for travel.
That's what it is.
They do get their, they do get an hour of prep time and. Right,
On page 3.
yeah, but is it both ways or is it just the one way?
Just
1 hour maximum, it says.
person lives that direction, so.
Right, he does. Or that person does. All right. All right, any further discussion?
Just curious, do you know about how many hours throughout the year has that been picked up?
It's such about 3 hours a week. It is the prep time, so. Yeah, it's not a lot,
Oh.
but. You know, enough to support them and what they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
It really is win-win for both because that was a sunk cost we had. So we're actually able to push some of the costs onto someone and someone has a savings in the end as well.
It would cost them a lot if they had to find someone or rent,
Yeah.
a contract out with a private. So this,
They had to go to Seesaw.
yeah. Yeah.
They were actually, I mean, we're sort of.
Hard.
Understand.
Great partnership.
Yeah.
Mr. Hopke is a good person to work with. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. There were no discussion items, informational items, budget update, David.
Yep. So I just want to talk real quick about the state budget was just recently passed last week. So I've heard a lot of people say, hey, we came up better at the end, right? It's like instead of hitting us twice, they just hit us once. We do have to be thankful that we did get a larger increase in the sped reimbursement. So what that's going to do for Superior is that's an additional $1 million. It's going to be reimbursed to the district for sped. They say it's at 42%, but it's some certain, so it's actually going to be 40%. So that was a good thing. It was a step in the right direction, but if everybody remembers, 60% was the ask, 90% is what happens on private schools. The per pupil revenue limit was increased by 325. Again, that's a good thing that we had that. That's the state statute, the Evers veto. Unfortunately, in my mind, it's causing more harm than good to us, but at least 325 is better than nothing. It's below inflation, but we got some money in. The bad parts about it is on July 1, the general aid estimates came out, and Superior is looking at a $1.8 million reduction in general aid. What that means is the state's going to give us $1.8 million less, which means property owners need to give us $1.8 million more. On top of the reduction of aid going to Superior, there was a 0 increase in general aid from the state of Wisconsin. What that means is that 325 is 100% the responsibility of property owners. What that all entails then is we're going to see probably an 8% increase in our school tax levy because the state's giving us less and the state didn't increase aid to begin with on that basis. It's going to be across the state and it's going to be really bad for a lot of districts. We're actually better than a lot of them. So there are going to be some districts that are going to be really hurt by this, although our taxpayers are going to feel the pain of it. Other items that kind of slid under the radar, we saw a reduction, or we didn't see a reduction. We get what's called a personal property tax exemption. Last year that was $700,000, and that was outside the revenue limit. They moved that inside the revenue limit. Now that means two things. Overall, we get $700,000 less because it's now inside the revenue limit, and two, property owners are paying for that because aid didn't go up, aid actually went down. So that's being pushed onto property owners. Open enrollment number, that jumped by $1,500. So when a kid leaves our district and goes to Northwestern, we got to pay them $8,500 a kid. That's what we're paying this year. Next year, we pay $10,000 a kid. Because of our vast size, we open enroll more kids out than we open enroll in. Because of that, that $1,500 increase is going to cost the Superior School District $200,000. So just on that personal property tax and our open enrollment change, we just ate up over $900,000 of that $1 million new spend on special education. There was a 0 increase on per pupil aid. That's something that hasn't been touched this is the second budget in a row where it hasn't been touched. And the low revenue ceiling has a 0 increase. So what that means is it's still separating the haves from the have-nots. And we can't get any lower than the $11,650. It's going to be out there and we'll be at $11,652. So there's always going to be that difference. So when I go online, kind of one of the things I'm hearing people say is, so school districts are saying, fully fund us, fully fund us. The question that I see people asking is, well, how much then? They ask that question because not many people have that answer. My unofficial answer, if I'm going out, so I'm not as a representative school district, but if I'm out there, I'm going to give 3 options. We can either do $12,342, because that'll be what the average is for the state after this 325 increase. We're at $11,650. The second option is $13,371. That's the same amount that a private school gets for a high schooler. Or the other one is $14,032. That's to keep up with inflation since 11-12. So not even 09. 09, the number is even bigger. Just to keep up with 2011, 2012, during Act 10, where they right-sized everything, if they want to call that. That's what that number would be. So when somebody comes in and says, hey, you have less kids, fine. They go off the 14,000 because that takes into inflation, and then you do your numbers in the background to say each kid you get $14,000. So that's kind of my.
Is that sort of a gauge as to the mark that was missed? Is that sort of what I'm hearing you say? Like, this is what we needed and this is where we're at?
Yep.
Okay.
So starting in 11-12, they say, here's a $50 increase. Well, if you go off of inflation, that increase is actually $200 or $300. it just, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. So, those are the three numbers when I look at it. As I told the board before, I try to leave on a good note when I talk. One nice thing was the Office of School Safety was fully funded. I really like that program. I think it's a really good program, and the governor actually asked for 12 people and they made it up to 13. I think it's a really good thing. It really helps our school district specifically, but all kids, it makes kids safer at the end of the day, so.
It's been one of the tools, I think, that truly saving lives across the state.
Thanks.
At least our voices were heard on that because a number of letters were sent from the school district in support of that program.
David, do you know how many people access that web page? Other David? The legislative one that we did?
Check the case.
Yeah, I'm just curious if we saw any movement from it or.
Did ask Casey at one point. I don't remember what her response was because it was a while back, but I do want to provide an update. I am looking at compiling, putting together a doc that's going to compile the federal reductions that are happening and the impact on our school district, because the gains that we made with the referendum passing last fall are we will lose due to the losses that we're feeling at the federal level. So I just want to be able to articulate how those funds were used and the impact that it's having on our local district. So we'll continue to provide those updates on our website.
Have you also been receiving the mailers? There's like a homeowners property association that's been sending money about
I see something. I don't know.
the tax increases like David's talking about and how school funding shouldn't be put on property tax owners. Yeah, property taxes. So those have been interesting mailings that I've seen as well.
They haven't reached out to us, but I have heard of them.
Everybody just needs to tell people, because I can't say that enough taxes are gonna go up. And people need to know that ahead of time. People need to know that it isn't our fault. It isn't school district's fault. I've already kind of seen stuff in the background where they're trying to spin that. And like, oh, the schools decided to increase it.
Mhm.
You have choice. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions for David on the budget? And I suppose we're at the Fund 10 report where there really isn't much information on there. How did we do as far as last school
well,
year?
this is last year's.
Okay,
I haven't July's numbers.
okay,
If you look at the revenue, down in the bottom, it's gonna be short because we're still doing receivables. So we gotta set claims and everything. We're actually gonna come in a little above our projected revenue. Part of that is the $700,000 in personal property. Another is the $1 million we got for the sale of Lake Superior. And then we've had, smaller, I think we got more on ticket sales and things like that. So it's all explainable on the revenues. We'll be higher. We did good on the revenue side, at least on our guessing.
We're under for expenses, right?
Yep. So, yeah, on the next one, we're under on expenses. That number is way low. The reason that number is way low is because I have not entered in our Fund 27 special education transfer. That's going to be around probably $7 million. I haven't added in our Fund 46, which is our capital improvement transfer, and I haven't included our Fund 73 OPEB transfer. Those all will need to take place by July 30th. So at that point in time, that's when the numbers are going to be more solid. I have an audit coming. My audit is supposed to be on first day of school. So the first 2 weeks of school, the auditors will come, so.
David, is it safe to say that we've been working hard, at least since I've been here for 7 years, to every year contribute to our fund balance and continue to build that fund balance? So if there's a hard year, we've got that available to us. But as we continue to build the fund balance and as we do our budget projections into years 3 or 4 from now, it's going to be more challenging. And as a matter of fact, the board may need to make some decisions about whether we intentionally dip into that fund balance on a one-time to balance it. So I just want to continue to kind of say we've been building that up, but there may be a time where the board may want to intentionally.
I think the main reason that Fund 46 and Fund 73 transfers haven't taken place yet is I need to figure out how we're going to do it, what we're going to put in for to our fund balance, what the surplus is gonna be used for, because once I put it into 73 or 46, it is gone. That money is it's stuck in there. You can only use it for either capital improvements or for post-employment benefits. One thing that I actually met with our actuary to figure out how we're looking on our post-employment benefits is our OPEB right now is made up of our implicit rate, which is the additional amount we pay for health insurance because we have retirees on it, and for all the teachers hired before January 1 of 07 that get the HRA payment. Those two, that's like $10 million. We need to make sure that money's sitting there. We're eventually gonna have to pay that out. We're trying to fully fund that Fund 73. Some of those expenses come through. I'm gonna have to pull it from our Fund 10. Either way, it has to be paid no matter what. If during the times right now where we have this $2.5 million referendum, that we can put more money into that Fund 73, that's gonna help in a year or 2 or 3 years from now, when that referendum and the lack of state funding isn't even going to be able to cover our operational budget, then I can make a reduction and say, all right, I'm not going to put $1 million in post-employment benefit money away to 73. I'm going to spin it around and make sure that's for keeping teachers in the classroom. Lots of moving parts on it, but that's kind of.
I just think it's important we continue to talk about budget, not on a 1 year basis, but understanding kind of where David and I are visioning, 3-5 years out, what this needs to look like. So.
I think when I joined, because it was right after the Capitol, we were like at 19.
Yep.
So that might have been right when you
really
started.
good job of planning every year. And we've done it really intentionally, knowing that there may be some hard years ahead that we may have to plan for.
Go back down.
We should really take pride in the fact that we are one of the most funded districts in the state of Wisconsin. We're still able to contribute to our fund balance. Keep an eye on some schools. Someone that I'm really watching is Beloit. They're in a bad place right now. So that's one where I'm just watching. And they couldn't pass a referendum, and now their aid significantly dropped. And that's all the fault of feeding property owners and good luck.
And those districts will need to go to short-term borrowing to be able to pay payroll and things.
Thank you, David. Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion to accept the Budget Insurance Committee report?
Motion to accept the budget and insurance report.
Second.
Motion second to accept the Budget Insurance Committee report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Teaching and Learning Committee action items. Jennifer Willoughby, Director of Early Childhood and Family Education, recommends the approval of the District English Learner EL Plan, which is the tip.
Good evening.
Hang on a second, we gotta have a motion in a second. Sorry.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve the action item for the approval of the District English Learner EL Plan.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to give a little bit of information about the plan. Last year, our district joined the English Learners Consortia through CESA 12. We had been with the previous CESA in the past, but through joining CESA 12, we've been able to attend a lot of professional development this year and have some additional trainings, which has been great as I've learned this role. One of the things we learned is that it's recommended that we have a detailed English learner plan that the board has approved, outlining our process for identifying, evaluating, serving, and monitoring progress of our EL students. We've included information about unique circumstances and links to all of our documents that our EL team uses. In addition, we've begun to create translated versions of documents for families that need or prefer this option. Leah Norton is our English learner teacher, and she and I worked to create this plan. It's aligned with DPI's EL handbook, and it's going to be used as a reference and a guide for students, families, and staff. So I think it'll be very helpful and useful to have everything all in place. And I just want to say this plan is really a reflection on our current practices. And we have an amazing EL team. Leah Norton, as I said, is our teacher. Chris Pestone is our EL paraprofessional. They worked really well together and really hard to serve our EL students over the years. So it's been great to work with them. Do you have any questions for?
I appreciate the work you've done on it. It's pretty extensive, the things that you had to do.
Jen is very good at
Met it.
the details and being comprehensive. So that's a really nice job.
What are our numbers?
Question.
Good question. I think I haven't looked at it since last spring, a few months ago now, so numbers are escaping my brain, but I want to say we're at like 20.
Yes, it's 22 in this
And then the
plan,
report, it's
Thank you.
approximately.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions?
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. There were no discussion item, informational items. Crystal. Dun, 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 dun.
This is an annual informational item, but I thought I'd just come up here in case our new members had any questions about this. So it is in state statute, and then of course in a district policy of ours that we annually notify families and students of the standards that we teach. And so we are required on each July's board meeting to provide you with an informational item about those standards. There is a link to a document with all of the links to the standards that are set by DPI. And this information is all also found on our website. So families or community members could find that at any time. Do you have any questions?
It's a very loaded document.
It is.
So if parents or guardians have questions, who would they call? You?
Yep.
Okay.
Or their teacher.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Or their principal.
Yep. And to make it a little bit digestible, we, in addition to obviously this document with all these links, have kindergarten through 5th grade curriculum guides on our website that are kind of a more digestible, nice document about all the things students learn in 1st grade math, 1st grade social studies, science. We also have a middle school curriculum guide that has a description of what the students at the middle school learn in grades 6 through 8 in each of the classes they take. And then of course we have our high school course catalog. So while not everyone's interested in the big long sets of standards, we do have other digestible documents for families if they'd like them.
Are they alongside each other on the website?
They are in the same spot. Yep. Okay.
All right,
Thank you,
Crystal.
Crystal.
Is there a motion to accept the teaching and learning committee report?
Motion to accept the teaching and learning committee report.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept the teaching and learning committee report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Policies and Rules Committee, action items. Administration proposes the approval of changes to the following policies based on Neola recommendations in order to be in compliance with state and or federal law updates. First one, adoption of policy 2260-02, English language proficiency.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Adoption of replacement policy 2464, advanced learning instruction, gifted and talented. This policy replaces the existing policy to account for significant revisions. The replacement policy includes new provisions based on state-based statutory language and administrative regulations from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. This policy was developed with the assistance of the Wisconsin Association for Talented and Gifted, WATG.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion a second to approve replacement policy 2464, advanced learning instruction. Is there any further discussion?
I just wanted to point out Amy Patel is here. You did a lot of work on this, so thank you. And has supported Crystal in getting this updated. So thank you for doing that. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Am I reading this right? This hasn't been updated since 1997.
Maybe.
Administrative guidelines would have been updated
Yeah.
along the way, but the official policy hadn't been.
And I think some change in statute sparked this change in policy, correct? Yeah.
And most of that change was about the involvement of families.
in the conversation to be sure the students' needs are met.
We don't go, like, once we get updates, that's usually the time that we
Yeah.
update them and, yeah.
The other thing I just want to point out, just like Jen just shared with you, kind of a handbook around EL programming. I think your plan next month, Crystal, is to share a guidebook that you put together that kind of demonstrates how we will be implementing this gifted and talented policy. Alongside that, there's an administrative guideline that accompanies this that we will likely be bringing forward for deletion because it doesn't really align to this, but the handbook that she will be bringing forward will provide those same sort of guidelines and more practical usage. So you'll see this conversation continued into August.
And that handbook is actually already posted on our website.
Yep.
For people to access if they want.
I know we did have a parent reach out, you know, asking more information about our advanced learning instructions and, you know, what are all the options that we have, and the website was a good place to refer them to.
And I think the book that you put together is gonna be even more comprehensive.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Adoption of policy 5136, electronic equipment and wireless communication devices. Changes in this policy align with our cell phone expectations in our student handbook.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and second to approve policy 5136, electronic equipment and wireless communication devices.
So
Discussion.
one of the things, it was about 3 years ago where we worked with a group of teachers and principals to put some new guidelines in place for cell phone expectations, 6 through 12. We weren't really sure how this was going to play out. Over time, it's been a success. I think one of the questions Kyle raised, I think Aaron Fezzi and I were talking about needing potentially to add some language to our internal systems on what are the consequences for students who are repeat offenders, I think is his greatest question. And so kind of talking a little bit more about that, that's kind of aside from this policy conversation. So we didn't change the policy. We brought those changes forward really because we weren't quite sure how this was going to play out. We recognize now that this is probably a new way of life, and many districts across the state of Wisconsin are adopting similar practices that we adopted 3 years ago. As a matter of fact, they ask for our resources often. And so this policy revision reflects those changes now that we have been implementing for the last 3 years. There is an accompanying administrative guideline that you're going to see later in here. It really doesn't align to our cell phone practices. Our cell phone practices are really articulated well within our code of conduct. We don't feel like this is necessary. On a side note, one of the things Ann and I are noticing is that as policies, we've changed a lot of policies over the last 18 months. As we've been changing policies, we haven't necessarily been changing the administrative guidelines, and some are outdated and unneeded. So Ann and I, in the next probably couple months, are going to start looking at which administrative guidelines do not have policies that align to them. So you might see some coming forward that will be asking for deletion because there's no policy that accompanies them, or will maybe need to make some revisions. So that needs to get cleaned up a little bit. And this was one of the things that we saw needed to get cleaned up.
This addresses that there could be consequences, but it's kind of vague.
The code of conduct will be where the consequences, this is just outlining the fact that we don't allow the use of cell phones during our instructional time in our classrooms.
It says there will be consequences.
Yeah.
In the policy, it's just not.
But they're not spelled out, yeah. So I'll work with the principals to kind of figure out what that language is, our internal controls, so that we are consistent across our schools with that.
Policy versus procedures, because procedural, a 6th grader versus,
Correct.
you know, a 12th grader, we don't want to get that detailed in there.
Right. Hopefully that helps answer the question from earlier.
Any further, excuse me,
How's that answer your question from earlier? Okay.
is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There were no discussion items, informational items. The district student handbook has been updated for 2025-26, and you can click on the link to view that handbook. The other informational item, we are deleting administrative guideline 5518, cell phones and electronic communication devices. The guideline is being removed because its content does not align with the most current cell phone expectations and policies in the student handbook.
I'll make a motion to accept the Policies and Rules Committee report.
Motion and
Second.
is there a second? Motion and second to accept the Policies and Rules Committee report. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Personnel and Negotiations Committee, action items. Administration recommends approval of July 2025 new hirees and separations report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the new hirees and separations report for July of 2025.
Are still hiring for some open positions, so you'll see some more.
Extensive.
What's open, Molly?
We have a social studies teacher at the high school, math teacher at the high school, school counselor at the school. And- Which I do have a candidate to offer for that position. And then the health teacher at middle school. And then I'll be posting with a support staff position, so paraprofessionals, and then we have a couple library assistant positions this week.
How about the bus situation?
Bus drivers, we still have posted and there's, so
Great.
we have a few custodian jobs still that we need to hire for.
Okay.
And one early childhood special ed teacher. Yes.
Oh,
Sorry,
boy.
That's okay.
Spread the word. All right. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Administration recommends releasing James Hogan, social studies teacher from SHS, from his 25-26 school year contract per his request, effective June 30th, 2025, with the liquidated damages provision in force.
To approve. Second.
Motion and a second to approve releasing James Hogan from his teaching position, School District of Superior. Is there any discussion? We all received the email from him, whether you expressed anything to him individually or as a group. Jim was one of our best teachers, I thought, in the school district, and the number of things that he did for us over the school year was exemplary. Ashland is getting a fine man, a mentor, a coach, and a parent. So our loss, but their gain. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Administration and the Personnel Negotiations Committee recommend the updated salary schedule for administration effective July 1, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Open second to approve the updated salary schedule for administration effective July 1, 2025. Discussion.
Can I provide a little context?
Sure.
I'm relying on David and Molly to help, but just a little bit of background. It was probably 4 years ago or so where we had to make some adjustments to the salary schedule, trying to do a comparison study at that time. We particularly compare ourselves to the Big Rivers Conference. But at that time, it was sparked by the fact that our administrative team saw some significant cuts in the benefit package that we could no longer sustain over the long term. So it was trying to increase pay to attract principals into our district, but I'll try to maintain some of the benefits to sustain and maintain our current administrative staff. Over time, concerns have been raised at listening sessions and among district leadership. We've seen some inequities within the salary schedule itself. There's some things that have been kind of uneven within the salary schedule itself. And the board tasked us, recognizing there was concerns and recognizing we didn't have a lot of turnaround last spring before the changes were made at the April handbook. They tasked us with two things. One is to look at a comparison study using the Big Rivers Conference again as our comparison districts. And also bring forward potentially something that moves away from a step schedule as an option for potential employee groups moving forward. So what you have here is that work that we've done to move away from a step schedule, but also try to bring us closer to the average of the Big Rivers Conference for comparable employee groups. We're still not at the average, but this gets us a little bit closer. We've lost 2 principals last year to a neighboring district whose salary is significantly higher, but yet work less weeks than our current administrators. And we've also posted for an IT director. We have only 2 applicants, and we were not able to hire a position under that current salary schedule. Considering that we not only compete with other school districts for that position, but we compete with other industries also when we talk about IT directors. And so this is kind of what we're bringing forward based on those conversations. We did meet with the personnel committee to get their feedback. You guys are certainly, can share kind of your feedback on that. Molly and David, do you have anything you want to add?
I think also with that part of it was I went in there, we looked at how the teachers compare on the Big Rivers Conference as well, and they were at about average. So one thing that's different for Superior teachers as opposed to teachers in the Big Rivers is how quick they get to step 13. So sometimes we see that the step 13 max is lower than say what the step 13 max is in Chippewa Falls. The difference is every single year, a teacher goes up 1 step in the Superior School District. Majority or a lot of the other school districts, it goes off educator effectiveness, which means they get a step increase every 3 years. So when we max out after 13 years for a teacher, Chippewa Falls, for example, they don't max out until about 30 years. So over the life of a teacher at Superior, they'll make $190,000 more because they max out quicker. And then it isn't until, really late in the career that Chippewa Falls will start catching up because they're now making a larger salary than our person in that same position, but that's because they just got.
Molly, anything you want to add?
Just to go back to when we did the scales in the 21-22 school year and reduce the benefits, not every administrator position increased that year. So not everybody got an increase, even though they did get benefits taken away. So again, to reiterate, to make it equal, we needed to increase the salaries again because we're falling behind again since we didn't increase all of them before. And I think moving to a salary range is able to help retain some of the administrators that we have. As you look in other industries, most management type positions are paid on a salary range, not a step schedule.
So step 5 doesn't necessarily equate to a maximum salary schedule on here, right? There's going to be a significant amount within.
And I assume that's going to be quite a bit of work on your part. Okay, comparing the apples and apples and oranges and apples.
So I believe within 7 years, again, I've been on and off the board, that during this time we have adjusted the teacher's salary at least once. We did the same for support staff. And then now, like you said, this has been a long-term conversation and just kind of waiting, knowing this needed to happen, but that a lot of other things took a front row seat. And so we just kept putting this on the back burner. Is that correct about the different scales, right, for the different groups?
And I think we did almost every single position with the support staff.
Yep.
Over the course of the last.
Right.
And we've adjusted some of our professional staff as needed with some specific positions as we've hired or had to redo job descriptions and things. We've adjusted that.
Like we took some of the folks off of the admin into professional.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
So the question is then, how are we going to afford this? I mean, just for the public's sake.
Yep.
So the salary increase is about $171,000. That's a high-end estimate because it just based everybody on a max, because just to make the numbers round, and that's not going to happen. And in that preliminary budget that I presented a month or 2 ago, that was worked in because I wanted to make sure that I had conservative numbers. If this was passed or wasn't passed, I needed to make sure that it's easier to pull the money away than it is to add it in. So that's already been baked in. So that's a one-time large adjustment, and then it's just the CPI increase that would take place after that.
There's no step increases that would happen as a result of this salary range. The only increases administrators would get would be any CPI increases that you provide on an annual basis.
CPI.
Consumer prices, the inflationary piece, yeah.
So this goes in place as of July 1st.
And this came out of the listening sessions, which we've been trying to across the board implement track of.
Yes, yeah.
What are the recommendations and trying to make progress towards those when possible.
Yeah, we're not able to always address everything, but
And prior to our new members coming on, we've had conversation, and I don't necessarily know that we've really echoed that with this group yet, but we were committed as a group long before this to take a good look at all the areas of support and the professional staff, and really taking a look at our teaching staff and where they are. It's hard to. I want to be careful what I say, because for many years in this school district, there was a us versus them attitude. And the last few boards have worked very hard of making sure that we are collectively one. And us taking time, I think us, and I mean us as the board now, and perhaps in the future, taking a look explicitly at each one of the groups, trying to help out as much as we can. Our pot of money is so much less. However, that doesn't mean that we should not be looking at making improvement monetarily and perhaps in other areas to make sure that not only we are ensuring our kids in this district that they have everything they need, but trying to make sure that we have the opportunity to provide all of you with what you need. So I'll sit there.
I will say too, that our admin team is pretty darn lean. Whereas there's a lot of districts that have assistants and more assistants, and you guys are doing one or two people's jobs.
we've really tried to cut back on the number of FTE at the administrative level.
Right.
But we're about as lean as we can be now at this point.
So I think the financial aspect, you guys are already cognizant of that and made cuts internally here. And I think we can kick in the can long enough. We just need to rip the Band-Aid off and move forward and give the admin team what they need.
This has been one salary schedule that's been very significantly discrepant from their peers as opposed to our other employee groups, so.
I just wanted to say that we
Yeah.
really need, and these people are doing a ton of work that other districts, they have 2 or 3 people doing.
Are there any other groups that are inequitable that would need to be looked at as well, so that we have to plan for the future?
I know when we met as a personnel committee, do you mind if I say your name? Sure. Sarah asked one of the questions. Is it possible that we look at whether we do scales for at least the professional and the support staff? That might be an option. And so that's something David, Molly, and I can start drafting. But I would like to have some listening sessions with those employee groups in the fall and winter and answer questions, give them more context. We met with administrative staff this summer as we talked through this, so they understood kind of how the salary scale is different than the salary steps. And so obviously there's always the ability to have that conversation, what that needs to look like for the long term for our teacher employer group too, so.
And like David talked about, as far as how rapid our steps are versus other districts. We also had a year where the teachers union, we had a certain pot of money and they had voted to put it at the last step. So then we had kind of disjointed steps as well. So it's always changing, and it is something, like you said, that we should be checking in on a regular basis and long-term planning around.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There were no discussion items and no informational items.
Motion to accept the Personnel and Negotiations Committee report.
Motion second to accept the Personnel Negotiations Committee report. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Other reports by members of the board. First of all, Mr. Wilson. I understand it's your birthday.
Pizza?
Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, look at his face. On a serious note, I do have one thing. On Saturday, the 19th, at 1 p.m. at the atrium at the Government Center building in the city of Superior, there will be a peace rally in honor and a memorial for Kim Young. Her grandchildren have gone through our school district. She had passed away a little over a month ago. She's done a lot on behalf of equity and diversity for the community, the Twin Ports area, but also was very active in our school district. So I just want to invite folks in there to join us again, 1 o'clock on Saturday. And thanks to Kim for her amazing advocacy. And her daughter Tasia actually graduated this past year, or in June.
Any other reports by members of our board?
Just that summer school is in full swing. Jen has done a really nice job trying to get some different options for kids out there. I know we've got like a Spartan Manufacturing boot camp coming up. We're doing 9th grade orientation stuff at the high school to bring in some summer school revenue and doing some fun things. So thanks, Jen. It's been good.
Any district or program highlights? Sorry, Jeff.
I was just saying, I'm very excited about Spartan Manufacturing.
Yes.
A lot of very excited kids. Yes.
Super. Other district and program highlights? Just a notice that the board is holding a retreat on Monday, July 28th from 5 to 7. I believe we'll be here in this building. Is that accurate or?
Are we doing it? Or is that it's here? Okay.
Okay, there will be dinner.
Right.
All right.
Jamie, are you doing it?
No.
Happy birthday. Thank goodness.
Really thank the directors because you're here tonight and then some of you will join us on the 28th as well. Amy and I are developing an agenda which we'll get out to each one of the board members so you can see what the plan is.
I did send a message up to our directors planning for that date. So to be prepared and ready to go.
And finally, consideration of bills and pre-approved bills.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to pay the bills. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion the second to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Shelby Miller. Aye. Nick Olson.
Aye.
Laura Yatsky.
Aye.
Karen Schubert McCollum. Aye. Catherine Deman. Aye. And President Olson.
Aye. This meeting is closed. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here.
Amy, don't run away yet.